Hello, everybody. So we'll go ahead and get started. I'll introduce myself. Most of you know me. I'm Janet Craven. I'm the Assistant Director for the TRIO Student Support Services program. And today we're going to learn about team and group formation and how to effectively form a working team that functions effectively and carries out goals, tasks, and events successfully. Those are all things that you'll do in your student leadership organizations, learning how to plan events, work effectively, delegate tasks, etc., etc. So you'll learn about Tuckman's stages of group formation, the forming, storming, norming, and performing theory. You'll learn about task strategies of each phase, and then how to create a no-drama zone to help the team function effectively. So just a little bit of background about the idea that Tuckman came up with. He was a psychologist in the 60s, and the formal name is Tuckman's Stages of Group Development. He also developed a college student procrastination scale, which you can go out and find it online if you're interested. If you have a problem with procrastination, just Google search Tuckman's procrastination scale. So his background was he was from the Ohio State University, and he developed his interest in group dynamics and team formation as part of his studies in psychology. So you guys have the handouts, and I'm not just going to read straight from them, but he proposed that all of these different stages are necessary to having a functioning team. And so in order to grow, face challenges, tackle problems, find solutions, plan your work, and deliver results, which should be the goal of every group. You should have a goal, first of all, or several goals, and then you want to function so that you can effectively carry out your goals. So as you go through working as part of your student organization or as part of a team when you find employment, there are both temporary groups, such as committees. Maybe you have a homecoming committee that's planning activities for homecoming as part of your student organization. Or you also have your permanent group. Maybe you're part of student government, maybe you're part of the choir, or maybe you're part of the student leadership and success organization. So you're going to have temporary committee type groups that work to plan events, and then you're going to have your permanent group that is your overarching group that has different things going on throughout the year. So every team has opportunities and challenges, right? Challenges can be difficult people. Strong personality clashes sometimes are a problem in group formation. Usually, though, there's a couple of strong leaders in every group that hopefully will take direction and also give direction and be a model for having your team function effectively. So it's better if you stay task focused, and using an agenda during your meetings is one way to help you stay task focused and concentrate on achieving your goal. Then you don't get sidetracked maybe with the personality conflicts or the big disagreements of opinion about how to do things. And then you're going to have people that are very strong that want to take charge right away, and then you're going to have those who are kind of shy that maybe sit back and kind of wait for direction, or maybe they're not real excited or enthused, so sometimes it's hard to get some of the group members motivated. But anytime that you have a challenge or a conflict, using this theory and realizing that every group goes through these stages is very helpful. So in the forming stage, people are pretty polite. You don't really know each other. You're kind of stiff and formal at the meetings. You don't really know what to expect yet. And so that's perfectly normal until people get to know each other a little bit better. It's good to have some group activities. Maybe you should go do something fun together. Maybe you could have a bowling night, or maybe you could just have a pizza party for your first meeting. Something to just kind of break the ice and get people relaxed and getting to know each other. when you get to the norming stage, that's when you kind of agree on what your goals are. You've kind of learned to put some of the differences aside. You develop a spirit of cooperation, and you all agree on what some of your team goals are. So at this stage, all of the team members have started taking responsibility, and they have goals that they're all working toward together. The key in this stage is to try to communicate effectively, to always resolve differences as soon as they arise, to not keep your mouth shut if you don't agree. Speak up, be assertive, be kind, be respectful, but say, no, I don't agree with this. Have we considered that maybe we could do it another way? To always be respectful and communicate respectfully. Try not to let personalities, I guess, stand in the way of functioning effectively. So focusing on a common goal should help you stay on track with this. Now, some people think that every time a new member comes into the group, or maybe you have a change in leadership, maybe your president has to drop out of school or something, so then your vice president takes over the role of president, and maybe they have a totally different leadership style. Sometimes challenges like this come up in your group, but it shouldn't completely throw you off track if you've reached the norming stage. So that stage is called renorming. If you have a new leader or a new member come into the group, sometimes you have to go through renorming and engineering the way your group functions. Okay. And then finally, in the performing stage, that's when your team is functioning at its very best, where you shouldn't have a lot of disagreements. You're able to resolve your conflicts respectfully and quickly so that you don't sidetrack and get off of what your goals are. You should always seek feedback from each other, to just check in with each other, make sure you're all in agreement and on track. Allowing for transfer of leadership. A well-functioning group, it shouldn't really matter who's leading the meeting or who's heading up the committee. You should all be able to just kind of adapt without a lot of conflict. And you should also always set aside time for planning and like keeping your agenda up to date, making sure that you stay on track with your meetings. That's where parliamentary procedure, having those Robert's Rules of Order can really help you stay on track. We had a student group here a few years ago that if it hadn't been for the Robert's Rules, they wouldn't have been able to function at all. They got stuck in the storming phase where they were just arguing about everything. They didn't get very much accomplished that year. They kind of kept going back into the storming phase. So I'm not sure they ever really got into the norming. They did a couple of activities, but they weren't real successful. So it takes a really strong leader. And what it was a power struggle between two members of the group is what kind of derailed the group and what kept them from really functioning. So they probably needed professional intervention. I kind of heard about it all after the fact, so I'm kind of like, okay. So you don't want to let it get out of hand. If you guys ever are having a real struggle in your group, make sure you ask Megan or someone for some assistance to help you get back on track. Now sometimes a group also goes through what's called a journey. That's when your group has achieved its task. Maybe your committee for the homecoming activities. Of course, if homecoming's over with, your group kind of adjourns, but maybe you'll go on to another project or another committee to plan another event. So you should always be dynamic and open to new ideas and ready to move on to the next thing. There is something called mourning, like you're really sad because maybe your group is disbanding or something, and that's perfectly normal too. If you've been together for a long time, you've been through a lot of stuff together, you might feel bad when your group adjourns or when it moves on to the next item or the next goal. So on this list, he gives different tasks at each different stage, and you guys can look at those. I thought the most interesting one was when he talks about with every new challenge, the process repeats, and we talked a little bit about that. So at each different stage, new challenges can come up, and the process will repeat. So a new member comes in or a new president takes over, you might go back into the storming phase. That doesn't mean you have to stay stuck there. That means you just need to address that, oh, well, we have a new leader now, or we have some new members, so now you kind of have to get them to adapt to the rules of the group, and that's what is called the norming, where you all agree on kind of the rules of the group and the rules of engagement and behavior. I think the most important part of being a good leader and having a good functioning group is to be willing to listen. Our society, we sometimes value people that are real extroverted, that are real loud and real forceful, but I think it's every bit as important as a leader to be willing to listen and to be open to new ideas. I think that's really critical with leadership. And so that kind of covers most of what I'm talking about today. This part is specifically addressed toward drama, and I put the save the drama for your mama graphic there, because that's where storming, sometimes it becomes more about personalities, and it isn't about functioning as a group anymore. It's about trying to outdo each other or trying to one-up each other or something. So just remember that drama is what can keep your group from forming. It's what can keep you sidetracked, and personalities and conflict instead of functioning effectively. Drama also can create micro groups, so that's where you get your little cliques that do all the infighting back and forth. So that's where your meeting agenda comes in, right? You keep your business meetings or your committee meetings on an agenda. That can help you keep from getting sidetracked with drama. And I love this idea. It's kind of like my workplace motto. We do not have to like one another, but we do need to always be respectful of one another. So I think that's a good thing to keep in mind. Just to always keep your goals in mind, and always keep thinking, how can we work most effectively to reach our goals? And the idea that you can be alone in a group, but once you have a team, you don't feel alone anymore. So trust your gut feeling of how do you feel in this group? Does it feel good? If it feels good, it's probably a well-functioning group. If it feels really uncomfortable, or you feel tense or upset every time you go to a meeting, there's probably something that's not quite right. Maybe you need to all have an honesty session and try to work through whatever it is that makes these meetings uncomfortable. So, and then as I was preparing, I found something kind of fun. How many of you are familiar with the Winnie the Pooh story? Okay, so I love Winnie the Pooh, and we went to a student leadership conference once, and we were looking for some way to kind of connect our little group, as you know, we were our WNCC group. And so we went to Walmart in Grand Island. The leadership thing was in Aurora, Nebraska, and we found these cheap Winnie the Pooh t-shirts. Well, I had to have Piglet because I am the group worrier. And Piglet worries all the time. And then someone found Tigger. That's the energetic, outgoing one, the one that can drive you crazy. If, you know, like, down, Tigger, calm down. And then someone else was, you know, Winnie the Pooh, Christopher Robin, Kanga. Anyway, it was kind of a fun way for our group to kind of get to know each other and think of each other. And so I actually found there's a psychological theory that each of those 8 characters represent a personality type or a function of different ways of thinking or different personality types. And that, so Pooh is introverted and he is sensing. That means he's always kind of, you know, scanning the environment, but he's also kind of into himself. He's usually on the lookout for honey. That's his main mission in life. But sometimes Poohs require more push to get them motivated. So if you think, maybe in your group you'll think of some of these people that remind you of some of these characters. And then we have Tigger. He's introverted and he's sensing also. So he's the one that can kind of drive you crazy. He's very charming. He's like the class clown. He's full of fun and lots of energy. But when you think about Tigger, why is he that way? Sometimes people with low self-esteem go out of their way to be real obnoxious, to get attention, right? To get some validation. So there's another side to Tigger that you may not realize. So just to keep that. Then we have Eeyore. He's always the one. He's that, thanks for noticing me. He's the one that he thinks he's in the background, but really he gets a lot of attention too, just because he's always depressed. He's always down and out. So they're actually very, very wise in their way, the Eeyores of the group. Sometimes they're an unsung hero. So look at the Eeyores and realize that there's more to them than just being down and out and depressed all the time. And then there's Piglet. He's extroverted and he has strong intuition. So he has really good people skills, but he is also a born worrier. And in fact, he worries not only about himself, but he worries about everybody in the group. Are you okay? Are you doing all right? Are you okay? That kind of constant worrying. And then Owl is very wise, but he is very introverted and he's also real intuitive. Sometimes though, he thinks he's so smart that he doesn't see his own flaws. So you'll have like the know-it-all in the group sometimes who maybe doesn't realize their own shortcomings. So Owl is an interesting character. And then there's Rabbit. He's kind of like Tigger in that he's kind of energetic. He's very extroverted, and he's a really good organizer. For some reason, they made Rabbit a good organizer. And that nothing would get done if you didn't have some rabbits in your group. So look to them for helping motivate others. Oh, I'm almost done. Oh my goodness. So Kanga is the caregiver, and she's the only female character. So they made her kind of the mom figure to take care of all the other characters. And she is also the heart and the moral compass of the group. So she tries to keep them on track with their humanity and their feelings and their caring for each other and so forth. Roo is also introverted and a deep thinker, even though he's a baby. Roo is a baby kangaroo. Yeah. And they're afraid to be on their own, so they still need their mom, but they also want to venture out and learn some new things, but they're still kind of insecure about things. And then of course Christopher Robin, he's the one, these characters are all in his imagination. So he might be kind of dull and boring because he's an actual person, well, a fictional person, but he's the one that created all these characters. So I think we've got a little bit of all the characters from Winnie the Pooh in us. But if you can think of your group, sometimes someone that drives you completely crazy, try to think in terms of who would they be if they were in Winnie the Pooh story? Which character would they be? And maybe you can develop a little more empathy and compassion for them if you realize that we all have our quirks and parts of our personalities that are interesting at times. And so anyway, do you guys have any questions or any ideas or any? I just want you to tell me one person that's in one of your groups that you can identify as a Winnie the Pooh character. Could you think of someone, or even of what character you identify with? Tigger, because you're energetic? Do you have a hard time like staying focused sometimes?
Not really.
Not really. So that's good.
If it's interesting.
Okay. What about you, Roberta?
I don't know.
You don't know?
No.
Can you think of anyone else in your group that stands out?
Nope.
Well, you said Patty was Eeyore.
Yeah, she's yours. No, she's just a goofball.
Okay. All right. What about you?
I'd say I'm probably Rabbit.
Rabbit, you're a good organizer?
Yeah,
Cool.
very much so.
Can you think of anyone in one of your groups that you see as a good character?
Well, in my group of friends, my friend Jordan, I'd probably say he's Eeyore.
Eeyore? But you guys get along okay, though?
Yeah.
You accept each other for all your good and your bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Janet.
Sure.
That was nice.
Thank you.